What's up everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is going to be a video of me doing an Arcane tier list. I'm going to go over 12 characters. I just reviewed this series on my YouTube channel, so go check that out, but let's get right into the tier list. Alright, just to preface, I think Arcane is a fantastic show. I think it's my favorite animated show of all time, and maybe my third favorite series of all time. I love the storyline that goes on, the steampunk sci-fi kind of world. All the characters are awesome. They all get their own entire little arc of each act of the story. I think it's very well done. Soundtrack, the animation is just stunning. I literally could watch this series every month. It's that good. But first up on our tier list, we got Silco. Silco is one of those characters that I was kind of like not liking a lot at the beginning because I thought he was just a one-dimensional like kind of villain. But you know, the more we got into the series, like by episode 4, we saw that he actually took a care for other characters. You know, he took a care for Jinx after Vi let her go, and he actually did care for Vander by the end, and he actually understood Vander's point of view at the end of being like, oh, you're just trying to protect your daughters, and now he was just trying to protect Jinx at the end of the series until he sadly died at the end. Still hoping he can come back somehow, but I don't know how that would happen. I think Silco is my second favorite character in the show. He's an amazing, like, kind of villain or anti-hero kind of guy. He was kind of going for peace at the end, which I kind of like. Overall, I think Silco is an awesome character, and I'm going to put him in the S tier. Next up, we got Ekko. Ekko was Vi and Powder's friends growing up, but then he grew up, and he's kind of like in a different group than Vi is, but he's trying to do the right thing, and then he goes and fights Jinx later in the episodes. I think that fight is one of the best animated fights of all time. We didn't really see too much of Ekko though, which I was kind of disappointed about. But you know, his character really isn't too much of a main character of the show. I still think he's awesome. Like, he's a really good character, but he's like just a couple, like, I don't know, he's kind of like a couple episodes away from being one of those like all-time great characters of the show. Because I'd missed him in a couple of the early episodes. I wish we got more of his development there, but I still think he's an awesome character. I'm going to go ahead and put him in the A tier. Alright, the next character we got was Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger is one of those characters where I was like, what is this thing? What am I looking at? But the more we got into him, like, the more these characters develop, the more you kind of like them, which I kind of do admire. I love how shows can just lure you in with these characters and take them on these separate journeys. And Heimerdinger has a very interesting journey because he's like with the board at the start. Then they kind of vote him off the board because he's trying to just protect the city, but everyone wants to kind of advance all the sciences, advance the arcane magic, while he just like, it could go bad because he's seen it go bad, which I kind of do like how you have the point of view of one character who doesn't want it to happen, but then he gets betrayed in like the terms of it, and then at the end of the season he goes down to the underground was on, and he goes to Ekko's hideout and he's like working there. So he's gonna have an interesting development in season 2, and I can't wait to see where his character goes. I'm interested to see if he will reunite with Jayce and Viktor by the end. But Heimerdinger is also one of those characters that I didn't really care about at the beginning, but I still think he had an interesting arc, but not as interesting as other characters. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Heimerdinger in the B tier because I still think he's great. I just wasn't really on his arc, like on his bandwagon at the beginning. Next up, we got Ambesa. I think that's what her name is. Ambesa. She's showed up really late into the series, but she's like a force to be reckoned with. I think she's going to be a really big character next season. If you played League of Legends, you got to let me know in the comments if she's going to be a huge character. But she's kind of part of like the army force, and she was talking about like a new villain is coming in the next season, which is very cool. I would love to see more villains show up, like more villains go against Jinx and Vi. That would be awesome. But Ambesa, as I said, we don't get to see too much of her, but I still think she's a great character overall. She's menacing, she's strong, she's scary in a lot of like episodes, and so I'm gonna put her in the B tier. Next up, we got Mel. Mel is one of those characters where I think that she is an awesome arc because she's aligned with Jayce. Both of them together, I think, have some very standout scenes in this series. But Mel on her own, I loved how she's like a very capable person, and she's like really a leader of this board in some terms. I guess you could say the board is kind of equal, but she kind of like leads them in these certain moments. So I think that she is a really cool character. You know, I think that we don't get to see too much of her backstory, which I would have loved to see more of her backstory, to see how she became who she is and how she became also powerful. But I think that by the end of the season, she gets the bomb right into her face. She's looking at, and the bomb comes. I wonder where she's going to be at in season 2. I don't think she's going to die. I think she's going to be very injured. So I'm going to put Mel in the A tier. I like her a lot. Next up is Jayce. This is another character where I was kind of like, I wasn't with Jayce and Viktor's storyline. I'm going to actually put them together. I wasn't with Jayce and Viktor's storyline at the beginning, but after, like, at episode 3, when they got the arcane magic to start working and they kind of understood it, I was really with that storyline. I think that's my second favorite storyline in the show because I love how the two characters interact. They're kind of a team, but then they go down the road where they kind of are splitting up. You know, they're kind of going down different paths. Viktor is going down the path of just going with this hex core and how it's kind of blended with his blood, and it's kind of helping him out, kind of turning him into kind of a mutant, I guess you could say. He's like half arcane magic, half human, because he has to help it, because he has to let it help him because he's dealing with that sickness. So he's doing that, but then Jayce is just going off with the board, join the board. He's kind of like going down a very different path that Viktor's going down, and I feel like we're gonna see both of them split up during season 2, which will be kind of sad. But I think that they're both very great characters, but I do like one more than the other. But I really can't choose which one I like more than the other. But I think I'm gonna put them both in the A tier because I think they're amazing characters. They're very close to S, but they're not there yet. Next up is Caitlyn. Caitlyn is a very strong supporting female character in this series. We see some of her backstory and how she came from like a wealthy family, and her friendship with Jayce kind of like ruined because they didn't want her to talk to him anymore. But then we see her team up with Vi in episode 4. She breaks Vi out of jail. Then we see them team up, and we see kind of a romance brew between them. That would be an epic romance between the two of them. And I heard that Caitlyn is going to be like a lead enforcer somewhere down the line. She's kind of like an enforcer in episode 3, but I heard she's going to be like the main sheriff towards the end, which I think that could be awesome. But I just loved where Caitlyn's story went, and I loved her voice actress, and I just loved every single line that she was in. And the scene where Jinx takes her at the end of episode 8, I think that was just horrifying. So I'm gonna put, I don't know, I will put, I think I'm gonna put Caitlyn in the S tier. I love her a lot. Next up is Vi. Vi is just an awesome character, voiced by the amazing Haley Steinfeld. I love Vi's whole storyline, except when she left Powder at the end of episode 3. I thought that was just heartbreaking how she would do that. Called her a Jinx and everything. But I did love Vi episode 4 and up. After those, like, she was just going down her whole own path of anger, using those weapons to fight Sevika, I think it was. She was fighting Sevika. Dude, that fight with her and Sevika in the bar was absolutely stunning. How she got knocked down, got back up because Vander was talking to her, like, kind of like dead Vander and something like that. I think Vi is just an amazing character, and her, like, resilience is awesome. How she just stands up to everyone, how she fights everyone is amazing. So Vi's gonna go in the S tier. Next up, we got Jinx. Jinx is one of those characters where she just has a honestly heartbreaking backstory, and I guess you could call the backstory episode 1 through 3 because she's Powder in those episodes, and she's just a child in those episodes. She's trying to fit in with the group, and you're not letting her really go anywhere and just do her own thing and help them out with their little bombs that she creates. And it basically angers her, you know, it angers her in the end of episode 3. She tries to go help though, puts her bomb down, she thinks she helped, but she ended up killing Milo, Clagger, and Vander in the process. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see, and you know, the split of her and Vi at the end of the episode, and Silco taking her in, and then you see her in the time jump episode 4, and she's fully Jinx, and she's kind of like a really different person in those episodes because she grew up without her sister, so she's like emotionally damaged, and she like hasn't grown up yet. She still kind of thinks like a kid in some parts and kind of acts like a child. So I really do love that kind of essence of her character, how she hasn't grown up, and how she just gone down a really dark path, but Silco is kind of keeping her at bay, kind of keeping her in control, even though she's sometimes very out of control. She is such a cool character, one of my favorite characters, I think, of all time. Like, after this show, she's so cool. Everything she does is awesome, and her whole look, I think her whole look is awesome. She got some really long ponytails, it's crazy. But I'm gonna put gonna put Jinx in the S tier. Of course I am. Next up, we got Benzo, the one that was friends with Vander and owned the bar after Vander died. Benzo, I don't really care about Benzo, to be honest with you. I don't know if you're hurt by that, but you know, I just don't really care about that character. It just wasn't one that really stuck with me, or it was like a hardcore side character. I don't really have a lot to say about Benzo, so I'm gonna put him in the C tier. Next up is Vander. Vander is the one that's kind of like the adoptive dad of Vi and Jinx, and I think he played his part. You know, he started caring about them a lot in those first 3 episodes, and he wanted to protect them with all he had, and he basically went up against Deckard, and he fought him while he's on that purple juice, and he was so strong, but he never gave up, dude. And I heard he's gonna come back as someone like Warwick. If you guys are familiar with Warwick, leave it on the comments. I'm not really familiar with the lore, League of Legends, and all those characters, but I am interested to see how he would come back. I feel like that would be very cool, very interesting in terms of like Vi and Jinx's storyline and kind of getting them back together at some point. I feel like that would be cool. But all of Vander's backstory against him and Silco is some very honestly cool backstory. I'd love to see more of that. I thought what we saw was just very like graphic, very violent, but also very like heartening and kind of sad at how they like split up. So I'd like to see more of their past together. But Vander as a character, I think is awesome, so I'm going to put him in the A tier for awesome, I guess. Next up is Clagger and Milo. I'm going to join them together. Clagger and Milo, they aren't really characters that I really cared about too much because we only had them for 3 episodes, and they were just like the friends and side characters of Vi and Jinx's characters. But, you know, I feel like they helped somewhat. We saw them fight with Vi in that one alley when they were coming back from topside Piltover. So I guess they did contribute a little bit, but you know, if they're not in those last 6 episodes, I didn't really care because their storyline went nowhere because they did die from Powder's bomb. But you know, I think I do like one more than the other. I think I did like Clagger more than Milo. So I'm gonna go ahead and put, I think I'm gonna put them both in the B tier. But, you know, I don't really care too much about them. No, actually, I'm going to put Milo in the C tier. I didn't really care about Milo. He was a bully to Powder, so I didn't really like him too much. Next up, we got Grayson. I think that's what her name was. She was one of the enforcers, and I think she did die in the first early episodes. She had a really good voice. Whoever her voice actor was kind of menacing, and I really did like a raspy kind of voice. But although she was only in a little bit of episodes, I thought she was kind of terrifying. I thought all the enforcers were kind of terrifying a little bit, so that's why I really liked him a lot. So, you know, I'm gonna put Grayson, I'm thinking C or B for her. Honestly, I'm gonna put her in the B tier. I liked her a little bit for the little amount of screen time that she had. Next up, I think that's Marcus down there, the other enforcer. He kind of like the sheriff. He was kind of like worked behind the scenes with Silco, and I actually really enjoyed that little storyline of him kind of working on the good side and the bad side to kind of keep peace. And when he found out about Vi being alive, that was kind of cool. But overall, I think this character actually is awesome, so I'm going to put him in the B tier. Next up, this is one of Silco's guys, I think. This is just one of the guys from Zon that I just did not really know or care about. And I hardly even remember him. So guess what? He's going in the D tier. Next up is Singed. Kind of like an evil doctor of the world. Saves Jinx from the bomb. Injects her with all that purple stuff. I always forget what that's called. But I think Singe, I think he has a really interesting story. And I heard his story is going to go even deeper in season 2. And just for that, just for him being like an evil doctor kind of character, I think I'm going to put him in the B tier because I think he's really cool. Next up, who is this? Oh, this is Sevika. Sevika is the one that fought with Vi. Sevika is actually a really interesting character. She has a lot of backstory, works with Silco, and I do love her story after episode 3, because her story after episode 3 is awesome. It's kind of like just a versus story with her and Vi, and the final fight's insane, and I can't wait to see where they take her character in season 2. I'm gonna go ahead and put Sevika. I'm gonna put Sevika in the B tier. And actually, I'm gonna move Heimerdinger up to the A tier because it's Heimerdinger, bro. He's cool. Next up, I forgot this lady's name, but she worked with Viktor in the lab, but she got killed because of what was Viktor doing in the lab. He was doing some bad stuff in the lab, and she got killed from an explosion. But honestly, she doesn't have a lot of development, so I'm gonna put her in the D tier because she doesn't really have a lot of development for me to really attach to her character. Now we got our final ranking here. D tier, we're gonna put the scientist in front of this guy. And C tier, I think I'm going to leave it like that. I like Benzo more than Milo. Milo's just a bully. B tier, I'm going to actually put I'm going to put Sevika at the top, and Ambesa is going to go... I'm going to put Clagger at the bottom. I didn't care for Clagger. I'm going to put Singed. I'm going to put Singed in probably second, and then I'll probably put this guy right there. I'll put him right there if I can actually move this. There we go. I like how the B tier is looking. That's actually really good. Sevika, badass person right there. The A tier is where it gets kind of mixed up for me. I do like Heimerdinger a lot, but I think I'm going to leave him at the bottom, and I'm actually going to put Mel. Actually, I'm going to put Mel at the bottom, and I'm going to put Heimerdinger right there. And then I'm going to go with, Viktor, Jayce, and then Ekko, and then Vander. Because Vander did die, but if he comes back as whatever he's going to come back in season 2, he could go up even higher. So I think that's where I'm leaving that. I do like Viktor a lot. I think he has a lot of cool backstory and how he's like very injured, how he's sick, trying to get himself to save himself, kind of like that. The S tier though, the S tier is very interesting. One thing I know about the S tier is where Caitlyn goes at the bottom. Even though she's amazing, she's going at the bottom. But the S tier, I think that all three of these characters up here are amazing. They're all amazing, but I think that there's clear winners here. And a lot of people may disagree with my rankings, but I'm going to go Jinx at first, and then Silco at second, and then Vi in third. Because I think Jinx and Silco are my two favorite characters on the show. They have some great development, great arcs in the show. Sure, Vi does too. Vi is amazing, my third favorite character. But I think that her arc kind of like stays the same during the whole series. A little bit changes when she gets out of the prison. But I think Jinx and Silco have the biggest changes in the series. But overall, I think all these characters are pretty awesome, except from C tier to D tier. I don't really care about those characters so much, but I think they're all awesome. Especially the S tier characters. Jinx and Silco are some of my favorite characters of all time. What they do in the show, what they do for the show, is amazing. One of the best shows I think I've ever seen. Leave your thoughts on my tier list. Leave your own like favorite character tier list in the comments down below, and leave your predictions for season 2. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But that's gonna be it for my video today. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I upload almost every day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.